Hi, everybody. Hi, welcome to the Management Q&A. My name is Michelle Grimolia, and I'm the President and CEO here at Woodland Pond. I'm looking around to see if I see any new faces. I see a couple, so welcome to those of you that haven't been here before. I'm just going to do the quick evacuation policy. Actually, why don't the new people stand up and raise your hands and just wave for a second, or just wave your hands. If you're new, wave your hands. Tamar, you're not new. There we go, Jean. Okay, so if the fire bell does go off in this meeting, what will happen is one of us will find out what is going on. We'll call the concierge or we'll get information and then we will announce it to you. You should not get up and run out. You should just stay put and wait for our instructions. We will give you the instructions about which way to go, depending on where the incident is, if there's an incident, or we'll let you know if it was a drill or a false alarm. And then if you can get up and walk out on your own, you should. If you use an assistive device, you should stay seated and one of us will help you. And the last person out should close the doors. Any questions on that? Okay. Philip, I'm gonna let you go first, because I know Philip's got a meeting with Leading Age today. So you can go ahead and go first.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Philip Mail. I'm the director of the health center. So that includes the skilled nursing unit, the assisted living unit, and the memory care unit, which we call Garden View. So nice to see everyone. I'm trying to think of what updates I have since last month. Things continuing to open up a bit. Although if you read the news, the numbers are starting to go in the wrong direction, but we're going to continue to all do our part, aren't we? So visitation is wide open. If any of you have friends and loved ones, come on over. You'll be screened at the desk. Unfortunately, that's the only point of access into the health center at this point is through the front door at reception. I know that's quite a walk for some people, but we are required to screen all people with temperature checks and provide personal protective equipment and things like that. So we appreciate your patience with that. It's almost a full house next door. Assisted living is just about full. We do have some beds on skilled that we have, some of which intentionally left empty for just such an emergency that we hope we don't have again. But so things are hustling over there. We are actively getting all of our residents who wish to be signed up for the boosters signed up. We have a booster clinic this coming Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday for folks who've had the Moderna vaccine. So so far we have a lot of people who are accepting the booster, and we're pleased about that. Last thing I want to mention, and I mention this not only because it's going on at the health center, but these are services that are also wide open and available to all you folks here at Independent Living. Most of you know we have a very active physical therapy and occupational therapy department for both inpatient needs, that is folks who live in the health center, as well as outpatient, that would be for all you folks. So they have been very busy as always. You don't have to break a hip to go to get therapy, and I'm encouraging you not to do so. But if you're having aches and pains and range of motion issues and things that you used to do well and you don't do so well anymore, there might be help for you. So I encourage you, it's available, it's right under our roof. I don't get a commission. That's not why I'm saying it, but often we think something terrible has to happen to take advantage of such services, and that's not the case. They are available. And under that same umbrella, we have engaged in the past several months with a new mental health group. It's the ESEN group. They provide psychiatric, psychological, and clinical counseling. We engaged this group and they were concerned that we were so tiny, we would not give them the volume that they wanted. Well, we are overwhelming them. We are free and liberal with those kind of referrals. We find them to be helpful. Particularly, we get a thumbs down over there. I'm not sure why, but we can ask about that in a minute. But the group is available for really any kind of adjustment issues, depression, acute or non-acute loss, Psychiatric needs, that's more of a health center thing. If there are issues with medications and things like that, that we want their expertise. And it has been telemed, which has been nice. Folks don't have to go out, particularly as we enter the cold weather. But that is a service that is available. So I will open the floor to any questions. Any of you have? Yes, sir. Oh, yes, the other mic. I'll repeat the question. How about that? Okay.
It's conceivable that the health center will be filled up at some point. What happens then to somebody here who has the plan?
Okay, so the question is a very good question. It's been asked from time to time. If the health center fills up, as I had indicated we are doing, what happens to all the good folks in Independent who are under the agreement that there will be a bed available for you? We have, and correct me if I'm wrong, never once since we have opened been in the situation in which there was no room at the inn. We have weekly meetings in which we are constantly touching base throughout all continuum of care here at Woodland Pond to talk about what the needs are of folks, what the availability is, and we intentionally do keep some beds open. So far we've been pretty masterful at not getting in the situation where someone who needed a bed didn't get it. We expect to be able to maintain that same. However, and Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong, in the worst case scenario that does happen, if your contract reads as such, we are responsible to foot the bill for whatever facility you may end up in. But again, that has never happened because we're very conscious of that responsibility we have to you. Other questions? Yes. Yes, that's a great question. So okay, so the very good question in reference to the mental health services that I had mentioned are what kind of services are they providing? First of all, again, they have clinical counselors, psychiatric psychiatrists, and psychologists. Presently, we are doing it all telemed. We have the devices, the various tablets and such to facilitate that, along with the staff that will accompany the person to make sure it's all set up, that we get the link from them. Depending on the level of debility, there may be a staff person present, but many people, they just need to be set up, and then they have the privacy of meeting with the counselor. The question of at some point will there be the availability for in-person? That is something we are actively working on with them. Obviously with the pandemic, it hasn't been the top priority. I know their outfit is located in New Jersey, but they have clinicians throughout. So that will be something that we will be looking to have folks come in to do that where possible. We try to avoid, unless it's the desire of the resident to send them out, we try to afford those kind of conveniences and have as many professionals from the range of providers come on site. So we hope to be able to provide that as much as possible. But the feedback so far from folks who have participated in the telemed is that it seems to work pretty well. But stay tuned for that. We would love to be able to have the option of in-person as well. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Philip. Tamar, just to add on to that a little bit, I hope it was clear to all of you, but Philip bringing this up in this setting, which is some independent living folks in the room, some independent living folks probably in their homes, folks in the health center watching on the CCTV. those ESEN services are available to all residents. So that's not just available to health center residents. So this is a really nice option for somebody that might be thinking, I really want to talk to someone. I think I need a therapist. I'd like to try this. I'm having adjustment issues. I'm having things like that. They accept a whole wide range of insurances, and we have packets of information available at the concierge so that you can get information if you'd like to do this. When I had the conversation with the ESEN group initially, I did ask them to be prepared to have clinicians come on site once per month to supplement the telemed. And as Philip had indicated, they wanted to ensure that we had sufficient volume to justify them coming from, let's say, North Jersey or wherever, but it's really ramping up. And I will tell you, I've been very pleased with their responsiveness. We've got residents that have had unmet psychiatric needs for some time. There's not a lot of psychiatry support available in our area, specifically for geriatric psychiatric problems and issues. So if you're having any thoughts that maybe this is something that you might want to add into your self-care repertoire, the information is available at the concierge. And if they're out of photocopies, I will leave more copies there for you. Okay. And just also to Philip's point, I can attest also to the physical therapy. I know many of you have utilized Lois. And if you haven't, maybe you've heard her name. She is amazing. She's our outpatient physical therapist. My son is seeing her now, and not for an injury, to Philip's point. He has a growth problem. He's got Osgood-Schlatters knees. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that, but basically when little people grow too fast, and he's grown a ton, some of the tendons don't stretch as fast as they need to and can cause, athletic injuries and so forth. She's been amazing. So as Philip said, if you have an ache or a pain, you're already entitled to benefits through Medicare, and y'all have Medicare. So we can get you that information. It just takes a prescription from the doctor. She can help with old problems, new problems, big problems, little problems, but she's really, really wonderful. So I'm going to go. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
We joined a couple years ago. We discovered that Lois was being outsourced to a provider who worked here. Are you now saying that she's now a Woodland Pond employee?
So the question that Bill asked was, who does Lois work for? And really all of the rehab team. So it's actually changed twice in the last 3 years. Initially, some of you may know this, but if you don't, Woodland Pond was initially sponsored by Kingston Hospital, which then became Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley, which then became now part of Westchester. Kingston Hospital employed our original therapy team. So all of our therapists, Jonathan, Lois, the whole crew, they were employed by Kingston Hospital. When Woodland Pond went standalone in 2016, we hired them all. And we had a different director of the rehab department. It was not going well. Let's put it that way. The productivity went into the toilet. People were sitting around. And for anyone that knows anything about physical therapy departments, it's kind of a workhorse department. They can bring in a lot of revenue, but you need to be efficient. So given the situation that we did not have the on-site expertise to oversee a productive therapy department, we found a company that could do so for us. So 2 years ago, they hired all of our rehab staff, which is what you're referring to with Lois. So she was our employee, and so were her colleagues. Then they all were hired by Preferred Therapy Services. That was also unsuccessful. So we hired them back, all of them back, a year ago? May of this year. So they're all now back on our payroll. New director in charge. He heard loud and clear what we needed to do to be productive and have his team doing what they were doing. We got them the training that we needed. The former director is gone, and it's been going amazing. But Lois has been with us all the way through, just getting a paycheck from different people, and we have no intention of changing it again. Any other questions on that stuff? All right, I'm going to go to Mike Bukowski, if you want to just introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you're here for.
Hi, everybody. Mike Bukowski, the executive chef here at Woodland Pond. I hope everybody's doing well. Want to talk to you real quick about some of the changes going on in the dining department. So you may or may not have noticed, but starting Monday, we came up with a new menu program for both health center and here in independent living. Some new recipes, some new dishes. We tried to build on our vegetarian and vegan offers. And so far, so good. I mean, it's only been a couple of days. We haven't heard any complaints. So I kind of go by the adage that, that's kind of good news in and of itself, right? It's a bit of a challenge for all of us in the kitchen. We're learning new recipes, we're ordering new stuff. I'm learning a lot. I'm making mistakes. We ask that you please be patient the next couple of weeks while we learn the new recipes and all the new procurement items that are starting to dribble in. Some of the things are available like next day delivery. Some things are remote stock that take a week or so to get here. So, some of it's been my fault. I guess I was not proactive enough on a couple of small items. But for the most part, we've been able to fill everything. We've got all the items we need to serve the menus moving forward. I do hope that you provide positive, negative, any kind of feedback as much as you can over the next few weeks so that we can really make sure that you're happy with it, that we're doing a good job, and that there isn't something more that we can do or something we forgot to address. So that being said, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer what I can. Halima? Okay, so the question she asked is, where do the recipes come from? Do they come from Sodexo or do they come from my head? They're all Sodexo standardized recipes. And I will be the first one to tell you, I'm not a big advocate of recipes to the letter by any stretch, because I feel that limits and stifles the creativity of the person making the dish. Also, I feel like, a lot of recipes are kind of standardized these days. And I think when a lot of people write cookbooks, they're not so quick to really be accurate with measurements or consider flavor matches and different profiles. So we use it as a guideline. And for example, last night's chicken cacciatore, it was a great recipe, right? I think actually, yes, I saw your comment. Thank you very much. So, there were a couple items that were in the recipe that we omitted because just among the three chef managers, we didn't like the way it kind of played out in our head. We added mushrooms to it because we felt like it needed mushrooms. So that's a perfect example of how we utilize the recipes. They're good and sometimes not so good. And we make the adjustments along the way to make them as good as they can be. You're welcome. Yes, sir.
How's staffing?
So the question is, how's staffing? Staffing is better. It's always a challenge. Unforeseen circumstances, unfortunate events, scheduled vacations. We are currently one full-time cook short, several people overall. But you know what? The crew here, they're great. They love what they do. They watch out for each other. They cover each other's shifts. They step up without being asked. I'm really very happy with how they work together. I can't speak specifically to that because I don't technically manage that part of the house. I'm more managing the back of the house. We are not fully staffed. I know we've been better on certain nights than other nights, and that's reflected in the amount of reservations that we're able to accept on any given night. So I know we have some new hires starting. Ronnie's been doing a bunch of interviews over the past week or so. So I feel like we're still moving in the right direction. We did lose a couple of people because of going back to school full time, but that's the best answer I got for you. Anything else? That's it. 2 questions. Yes. See, I was wondering if somebody was going to mention that. Well, yes, the question in the room is, Ronnie, our food service director and my general manager, has accepted a position with another company and moving on from Woodland Pond. And you know what? It's bittersweet for me. Working with Ronnie, I'm happy for her. You know, it's a tremendous opportunity. She's worked so hard to earn it, but she'll be missed. I mean, she does a fantastic job. I mean, and you all know that. You know her just as well as I do. But you know what? The show will go on. You know, I'm going to continue to manage the kitchen and run the food program both here and in the health center. I haven't yet spoken to Michelle about it, but you know, I will step up in any way or capacity that Woodland Pond needs me. But I feel confident that Sodexo will make a great choice and a timely decision on her replacement. So, but in the interim, I don't want anybody like thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? No, it's going to be business as usual. We're going to, you know, here at Woodland Pond, I mean, you guys are everything to everybody behind me and everybody on my team in the kitchen. So, you know, I would not be too concerned about it. It's going to be a sad personal loss, but we got you. Yes.
I just want to add a little bit too, for those of you that maybe didn't hear my address yesterday at noon, just to talk a little bit about the process for replacing Ronnie's position. So we are very involved. And I just want to mention that this exact circumstance, when we lose a key member of the dining production and oversight team, Sodexo literally can just send us an interim person, can bring to us a slate of candidates. They are going to present it to us on a silver platter. And oftentimes, you know, people say, why Sodexo? Why don't we run the kitchen ourselves? Why don't we do it ourselves? Imagine me getting a resignation from Ronnie and not having Sodexo as the backup. So now I have to go out to the market, which nobody is, there's just no applicants. You can't hire people. I would have to try to find somebody that was qualified, was in our area, had experience doing independent living, and all in an impossible hiring market. So this is an excellent example of why we contract with a large organization on such a complex part of our service. But at any rate, regardless of the fact that it's a very large organization, we drive the bus on who comes to Woodland Pond. So the way we handle this, we've done this several times. Ronnie actually has been our longest GM since we've been open, but we've had 5 or 6 over the years. So prior to Ronnie, they were revolving every couple of years. This is typically, and Betsy, to your point, why is she going? Typically GMs move around. The fact that she was here for 5 or 6 years, and I don't know if that's been your experience, but here that's been our experience. People look for something more. They, you know, it's a hard job. You know, and Ronnie's going into something that's completely different than senior living. And I know she's going to miss us and we're going to miss her too. But it's been our experience that this position turns over every several years. The process that we followed the last time worked exceedingly well. So we had Sodexo, we gave them our criteria. So, you know, our criteria are, we would want someone that's been experienced with senior living, someone that's run dining rooms, particularly in the senior sector, if we can, that's the preference. They are to bring us no fewer than 3 candidates, their top 3 and more if they have them. And then they bring those candidates here on site one day, and we have a resident panel. So if you're interested in sitting on that panel, you can sign up with the concierge. We're going to select 5 residents from a lottery from those who sign up. You will meet with the 3 candidates. My executive team will meet with the 3 candidates separately. Then Bridget and I will meet with the candidates. Then the next day, we will all discuss. And then we make a decision and a recommendation to Sodexo. So this is something that this is the only position I think that we do that. Did we do a panel for you with residents? No, just the staff, right? This is the only position that we have ever historically involved the residents in the hiring decision. And I feel that it's critical that we do so that you can ask your questions and, you know, reflect on the things that you think could be improved upon and so forth. So you can look forward to having a voice in that process. So if you're interested in possibly being one of those 5 residents, please leave your name with concierge. Okay. And in the interim, as Mike said, Mike will help, and they will send us an interim general manager, but we're looking to get the interview process started very quickly. And Sodexo seems confident that they can have someone in here sooner than later. So someone else had their hand up for a question for Mike, I think, Tamar.
Okay, that's a great question. So the question was, there used to be comment cards on the tables. Where are they now located so that comments and suggestions can be submitted? They are at the host desk, okay, right outside the dining room. You can see Ruth, and she can definitely get you whatever you need, okay? Yeah, or obviously email dining services or just any piece of paper, really. Yes. Okay, thanks.
Hello? I don't want to hold that. All right, I'm Tom Tango, Director of Plant Operations. I'm going to talk about a topic, and then I need a couple of you. When I ask for questions, Lionel, do me a favor. When I ask for questions, ask me a question and say, how do you know what to replace it with? Okay? No, Lionel. Okay. When I say, are there any questions? I need you to say, how do you know what to replace it with? Okay, tomorrow though. Okay, thank you. All right. And then if I ask for the next question, Dr. Barry, could you ask me, is that a good choice energy wise? Okay. All right, good. Thank you. All right. So now, hello, I'm Tom Tango, Director of Plant Services. I want to talk about a couple things. First, a couple things real quick, and then a bigger one. I see on the news might be getting snow Monday. Don't worry, we're fine. Everything's in place, and we're good. And I'm sure, like every year, first storm, we'll get used to it, but then we'll be fine. Next thing I just want to mention real quick. I've been talking with the local police department, and pretty soon we're going to have another active shooter drill. We had one a couple of years ago. We didn't have one last year. We are going to have one. I don't have a date for it, but we're just starting to talk with them, and we will be having one, I would say sometime in the next 1 to 2 months. And so I'll let you know more as I know more, but I just wanted you to be aware that we are starting to coordinate that. You might see, if you leave the campus, on the corner of North Putt Road, and also across from where you come out of the thruway, we put signs up that said HVAC tech needed, to try to get some applicants, because currently I'm not doing well getting applicants. So we tried putting signs up. I never did this before. Let's see if that works. All right, so you might see those signs. All right, segueing on that. HVAC unit, heating. HVAC stands for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. So when I say HVAC units, I talk mostly about the units that are on the roof that provide heating and cooling to the spaces we're in, like here in this room. We're here at a lot of places. Woodland Pond opened, let's say 12 years ago. The units that we have on our roof, when they went up there, some of them were already out of production. So some of the units that we're using were designed many, many years ago, and they've been in use for 12 years. We've kind of reached a critical point right now where a number of them need replaced. A number of them right now are off, and some of them do not work. As you go through the building right now, there are some spaces that I am aware that are colder than they should be. I know that. Sometimes we can adjust it by turning the fans off. I can make units that are near that unit warmer. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be attacking some of that. The contractor, we use hvac. They have been phenomenal with us. They're upstairs right now getting 2 of the units going. But we've gotten to a point where we need to change, and we are going to change, and we've just signed all the paperwork. We're changing a number of units, 5 or 6 of them, brand new units. The crane will be here again, putting them up on the roof. And because the units that are there they're old. And also all of our units have what's like an air conditioner has fluid in it, as air conditioning has Freon in it. And all of our units have R22 Freon. It's a type of Freon that you cannot get anymore. They made it illegal. So they have a new Freon that doesn't work as well and costs a lot more. And the new units have the R22A. So all of our units, once they get to a point where the cost to fix them exceeds the value of the unit, we change them. We change them probably a little sooner than we would if we could still get R22. So we're going to be changing some of the units. Does anybody have any questions? Tamar, any questions? Oh, how do I decide what to replace it with? Excellent question. Good thinking on that question. How do we know what to replace the units with? So if we have a 5-ton or 10-ton Carrier model A22A, and we have to replace it, how do we know what to replace it with? A number of years ago, we hired an engineering firm in conjunction with NYSERDA, New York State Energy Development Association. And we hired them, and they looked at all of our HVAC equipment. And they gave us a very detailed study of all of our units and what we could or should replace them with if they were to go. Or should we replace them just because there's something better? So we now have this document, and we have been using this document. We have a couple we're replacing now, but we've changed 3 in the last couple of years already. And when they go, and I go to Michelle and cheer her up that I have to spend a lot of money on these things, I go with this document that says what to replace it with. And that's what we do. Is there anybody else have any other? Dr. Barry?
I have a question. I want to know, are you absolutely positive? But this is the best choice energy-wise.
Excellent question, Dr. Barry. For those that didn't hear it, he totally out of the blue asked me if the units that we're replacing, and are we replacing them with the best choice energy-wise? Yes, we are. Part of what NYSERDA, which is their whole, that's their mission, is, what they looked at it, and most of our units, they recommend just replacing with the same thing. 2 reasons. One, the payback period, and what they do and I can show this to anybody who wants to see it. They give a unit, and they say, if you replace it with the greenest, most highest efficiency unit, all of those would require some extra modifications. And then it gives the payback period. How many years would it take to get that extra cost back? On the average, the payback period is about 75 to 80 years. And I'm not joking. I'll show you. Some of them are pretty quick. Some of them are like only 40 years, but most of them are up in the 70 area. So that's one thing. Also, when I started off, like I said, our units were sort of old when we first turned them on. Every 3 to 4 years is a new generation in HVAC equipment and controls. So the units that are on the roof now were designed could be 20 years ago. The units that are going up right now, they're in production right now. So they're like 5 or 6 generations ahead of what we're replacing. So that factors into the NYSERDA study. And I can show you, it says that exact words, that the new units would be the latest generation, which would make them energy efficient and could satisfy Dr. Barry. And everybody else. So yes. Right. So that's how we know what we're replacing them with. And to satisfy Dr. Barry, the NYSERDA, it gave us the documentation that lets us know that what we're doing is a good choice for Woodland Pond and energy wise. Any questions now? Well, I didn't tell you what to ask. How are you gonna know what to ask? Excellent question. I should have thought of that to tell you. In the individual apartments, just 2 days ago, I just got emailed. We did another study, another NYSERDA funded study, and they looked at the apartments. And they started that about 3 months ago. And I just got that draft from them 2 days ago. I read through it very briefly. I haven't even shared it with Michelle yet. So I really don't want to talk much about it until I go through it. But we do have that document right in we have that. I just don't know. I haven't read through it yet. So we will know what to do in the future. But we have, to sort of answer your question, we've been changing them when they have a problem with the air conditioning. Because if there's a leak in the coil is like, it's literally a coil of copper tube, and the freon is in that. And if that has a leak and the freon gets out, it costs us about $4,000 to fill the coil up, to fill the unit up with R22. Well, you can get it, but it's ridiculously expensive. And well, you can't get R22. You can get an R22 replacement, which doesn't work well at all. But we put that in. It's about $4,000. I can replace the whole unit for $6,000. So we've been replacing units when the coils go bad, because some of you in here have new units. But this NYSERDA study that I have now gives us even more guidance what to do. And I'll look at that in the next few days. What areas, what units will be replacing? The order of priority, I can't give you right now because it depends on what comes in. In other words, there's 6 units on order. As to what comes in, I don't know. As soon as they come in, they're going up. I'm not waiting. So we have 5 or 6 units that are out right now, and as soon as they come in, they'll go up. But I can't give you an order because I don't know how it's coming in. Right now, not just with HVAC, but like you're aware, every single supply of everything is not just lengthy, but it's haphazard. I mean, we get, like, when we order appliances, I'll order like appliances for 4 kitchens. I'll get 2 dishwashers and a microwave. And then the next day I'll get the range and the wrong color refrigerator. It's just, everything's coming, and currently when they deliver April downstairs, she runs outside. She won't even let them take stuff off the truck until she sees the color. And they complain to her that, like, they can't do that. And she cuts the box open and looks anyway. So it's the whole supply chain is challenging right now. So I don't have an answer for you. Also, standing here right now, I don't have a list, but I know that, like, one of them, yeah, one of them is, oh, actually, on the question of which one, yeah, Unit 6 is definitely getting changed very quickly. Yes, but I know it's Michelle's office, the classroom, the library, and there's a couple others. Yeah, it's all common, right? It's not good, right? It's all common areas. There's no apartments. There's no apartments, right? Mm-hmm. No, not the dining room. Right.
So your NYSERDA study is 3 years old,
Correct.
Is that somehow updated? Or is that look ahead to what they now?
Well, when they say, well, no, I guess my honest answer is no, it hasn't been updated in 3 years now. My belief is no, but it's a pretty valid question. It is a valid question, correct? Because somebody could have came out with something 2 weeks ago that this doesn't address. It's a good question. Yep. After this, after the health center, which is after the pandemic, and just last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I just talked to Philip and he just said, okay, do the health center. So it was just last week, and we have everything for the health center. We have it. We just have to do it. After that, as best I can tell you. All right. But it is. Yes. Yeah. I don't want to say I'll guarantee it, but yeah. Yeah. Right. Anything else? Not HVAC, anything, any questions? Yeah, I've been hearing, yeah, I think we do need to look at where to put one. Yes. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's something that I'll bring to the plan ops committee and let them like pick a spot, because it's tough. It's, you know, we don't have, we are kind of limited where they can go, but we should get another one. Yeah. Because there is one more behind the loading dock. In front of the loading dock, there is a bike rack there that I've never seen a bike at. Right. Yeah. So it's there is bike parking there, you know, but it's not, that one is intended more for staff because it's not near any apartment. No. Well, it was moved last winter by the snowplow equipment, but they put it back. No, but I would leave that one there because there was a time that there was a groundswell of desire for that. So as soon as I move it, that's when somebody's going to say where to go. So, right. It's on a concrete pad too. Right. 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 No, it doesn't have a roof, and I don't think we're going to put one in that does. No. I mean, it's, yeah, that's a good plan ops committee. Yeah. Done. Done. Soon as I left here that day, went right downstairs and did it. Not really, but it was pretty close. Anything else? Yes. No, oh, good question. All the patios are screened in. If it gets cold, don't go outside. But some people do. No. Right. Yeah. No. Because the reason is if they're glassed in, and that we do have probably about 20 of them that residents have installed glass in. If they get glassed in, then a sprinkler head needs to get installed out in that unit. And that's per New York State Building Code. That's not Woodland Pond saying that. That's the building code saying that. So if a resident wishes to have their porch enclosed, they can. But part of that process is a sprinkler head needs to get installed out there from inside the apartment. It's not inexpensive, correct? Right. But it's again, it's not Woodland Pond that says that you have to there has to be a sprinkler. That's a state building code.
That apply also if the screen for replacement storm windows?
Yes. That's exactly what I mean. If there's,
But not permanent.
if it's a storm, even if it's a permanent or non-permanent, if it's a storm window that can be in, then you need a sprinkler head. Yes, right. Right. And did you call concierge and tell them that and put a work order in? Could be null. Yeah. All right, then I don't know what happened or how, but anytime you see anything like that, anything, just call concierge. And I always say, call concierge. That's right. And that's your best plan, the best thing. So, I don't know, I'll look into see what the story is.
Staircase
Right.
used to be.
And it will get hot again. Right. The staircases are a poor design. And the air heated, the staircases have one heater on the bottom. And then the air they call stratifies due to the design of the staircases and due to the doors needing to be closed. And then sometimes they get opened and stay open. It's very, very difficult for the staircases to maintain an even temperature throughout. And when the staircases are really hot, you can go up on a staircase and one landing is okay, the next landing is cold, next landing is hot, next landing is cold. It's not a good design, and it is something that we do plan on looking at. But right now I just have to get heat back into the common areas. Enjoy it. All right. Thank you.
Having technical difficulty, sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm Bridget Blum, Director of Human Resources, and I was not here last meeting, so I feel like it's been a very long time since I've seen most of you. We are very busy this time of year always, because there's a lot to take care of before year end when it comes to employees and the year-end preparation for their taxes and for their benefits, lots of different things going on. So it's generally a very busy time of year as we approach the end. In addition to that, we have been just inundated with candidates from all of the different departments, new hires. As some of the folks had mentioned, staffing is continuing to improve, every day. So the direct result of that is getting people onboarded. So the HR department has been extraordinarily busy in taking care of the new applicants and the new candidates and getting them through that process so that they can hit the floor running. In addition to that, just today, I was finalizing some details on the employee appreciation gift that is going to be coming out to the hourly staff members, which is, raised by the Resident Appreciation Committee. I know that they are rebranding and I think coming up with a different name of some sort, which, forgive me, I don't have it in front of me, but Rove, that's what I thought. I just couldn't remember. I don't remember exactly what it stands for. Yes, rewarding our valuable employees. It's Rove. That's how they're rebranding, which I think is a great acronym. So just today I was working on the reporting for that so that I can get the information over to the bank so that they can work on getting those checks created, because the intention is to distribute them, the gifts, to employees next week. So I'm, excited and so thankful to all of you. The committee has raised
just an unprecedented amount this year. Just knock your socks off. I want to say that we've close to doubled what has been raised last year. And each year since the beginning, the fund has grown and grown and grown, but it has never doubled. So it's just outstanding. You know, when I was presented with the original number, I actually cried because it's just unbelievable. So thank you on behalf of the staff in advance of them receiving this gift. They are just going to be blown away this year, truly. Yes, question. Yes, that's what they sure did. They sure did. So thank you again. Yes. So as I said, I'm working on the reporting, but I can tell you that the smallest gift is $7. It's probably about $8, maybe $8.25. And the largest gift is going to be over $3,100. And that's because that person, so the equivalent of the dollar amount this year was actually a little bit over $1. It was a little bit over, yeah. So thank you, I will. Good idea. So the way that this gift works is that all of the money that's raised by the residents, by this committee, and put into this fund, you know, it becomes one pot of money. And what has been decided by the committee is that the eligible employees are those who are hourly workers who've been employed for 30 or more days when the gift is given. And they are employees in good standing. Obviously, they're continuing to be employed here. So what I do is I take that group of employees and I look at how many hours they worked from January 1st to the cutoff date, which this year happened to be November 6th. And for each employee, I get a total number of hours that they worked, and we take the amount that is in the account and divide it by those total hours worked. And it gives us what used to be cents per hour. It now gave us this year over $1 per hour is what the value of each of those hours worked is. So what that means is essentially the smallest gift being given is given to someone who worked 7 hours. And the reason that their hours count is so low is because they probably only worked one shift because they probably started working the day before the cutoff date. Okay. The largest gift is going to someone who worked over 3,100 hours from January 1st until November 6th. Now, to put that into perspective for you, the average, for those of you who don't know, we are a 37.5-hour work week. So the average number of hours in 12 months is 1,950 hours. This person in 10 months worked, well, 11 months, worked 3,100 hours. So they did a ton of overtime, a ton of extra shifts. This person really is committed to Woodland Pond and works a lot. So the employees are going to be just shocked because last year, this person who worked almost the same exact number of hours last year, this person's gift would have been, I think she maybe got $1,600 or $1,700 last year. This year, she's getting over 3,100. So, you know, her gift is almost doubling because the value has almost doubled. Yes. Oh. Right. Right. So no, and you know, in general, first of all, we haven't had that happen where an active employee has died, you know, and been entitled to the gift. However, unfortunately, when that does happen, if that were to happen, their employment with Woodland Pond would ultimately end because they are deceased. We don't pay anything other than, applicable life insurances if they have it, to an estate of a former employee. Yeah, I mean, certainly it can be looked at, I mean, if they're due a paycheck, that would be paid to them, but otherwise.
Understand that this money is a little gifts, the service they gave that year.
Correct. Yep, absolutely.
Would have contributed up to
Certainly. And that would be a circumstance that the committee should discuss and look at. Right now, again, eligibility is active employees. But if your death is the reason that you're no longer an active employee, then that certainly is something different than someone who's no longer active because they've been terminated or have separated for some other reason.
Right. So I don't know if there's anyone here from the committee. Can you bring that back, Suzanne? I mean, I think it's a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing that we haven't considered is retirement, which might be a similar type thing, because if somebody contributed their whole career here at Woodland Pond and left in good standing but retired, that might be something the committee wants to consider as well, because that's not like a termination or a voluntary resignation to move into a different field or a different employer. But we don't get to make those decisions. The committee, which is comprised entirely of residents, decides who's eligible for the gift each year. But I like both ideas, and I'll leave it to you to discuss. Okay. Yes.
What's the tax treatment of these favors?
So this is truly a gift. It's drawn from the bank that the fund is held. So that's Sawyer Savings Bank. So it's not taxable. It's not payment from Woodland Pond. This is a gift from the residents. So,
Different from what I have been told.
okay, the employee, as with any kind of money that they take in, should be and is advised by us that they're supposed to claim it on their taxes, but it's not payment to them from Woodland Pond through payroll. So we don't have any tax reporting on that. Yes, we recommend that to them, but of course, that's all that we can do is make the recommendation. Yes.
But if a employee is paid overtime, I think the going rate is one, do they get or two? Do they get credit for hours worked or for equivalent? 1.5 hours
Mhm, mhm.
in terms of the calculations for the full hours.
Sure. So this was discussed actually at length with the committee just yesterday. And the way that it is being done is the report is based solely on hours worked. So through their payroll, through the course of the year, when they are working hours, which may be overtime or maybe, other types of hours, they are paid commensurate with Department of Labor rules. So if it's overtime applicable, they're getting overtime, that kind of thing. So they're paid appropriately through payroll. The gift that they're receiving is based on the total number of hours that they worked. So if it's overtime, it's still hours worked and it falls into the total. Okay. Yes. Mhm. Correct. No, right. So Woodland Pond, one community, one fund, the money's raised, which, and again, the committee can speak to this certainly better than I can. I'm only a spokesperson for them when it comes to sort of, divvying up the money. But my understanding is that they have, those participation numbers right down to a T. They know exactly how many, the percentage of residents that are participating from the different areas, but it is one fund, one pot of money, which gets dispersed among the entire community of hourly workers. Okay. So yes, and were you going to talk about vaccine mandate? Okay. Yeah, I thought that Michelle would want to, but yes, there is an update. Michelle will share. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So no other questions. Thank you all so much. Oh, oh, right. So, it's quite funny because I don't often get to spend a lot of time talking with residents. And yesterday I spoke with the appreciation committee. Today I spoke with the scholarship committee. Tomorrow, Annette and I are going to have the interview, which is televised. Last week I did another meeting. So I've been spending a lot of time talking and talking about the different, funds that we have here that folks are fundraising for and that kind of thing. So I've spent a lot of time with the residents over the last few weeks and I've quite enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to our discussion tomorrow. And if you tune in to, is it 1340? 2:00. Okay. All right. So I'll be on again. Take care. I'm going to turn over to Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Spatoro, the Director of Marketing. I just returned, thank you. I was out for about 3 months on maternity leave. I have a little baby boy at home who's now 4 months old. And he's my 4th child, not my first. A lot of people ask me. I have a whole clan now and no more. I will not have any more after this. So I've been very, very busy since I came back. We have a full house of new residents coming in. I think 5 at least moved in since I've returned 4 weeks ago, and we have another 10, 11 move-ins coming in December, which is super exciting. So we're doing quite well in the marketing department here and definitely busy. But if you do have friends that are still thinking about us or are interested, definitely have them call us and at least get on a waiting list. Right now, I think there's 1 unspoken for unit, a couple coming up, and that's it. So it's a busy season for us here. But always give us a call and we can talk to whoever is interested and help them plan their future move here as well. Does anyone have any questions for me? Dave? Right now, 1 that's vacant, and we do have a couple on the horizon that are having planned. Yes, everything. Yep. Super long waiting list. So we're doing fantastic. And lots of new faces here. So it's exciting. Yeah, thank you. All right. Thank you.
All right, so I'm not going to keep you all. I want to thank you all for being so interactive. I see that it's past 2:30, but I will just get to your point, Joan, just about where we are with the vaccine mandates. I had only gotten 2 questions, and one was from Betsy about Ronnie and where she's going and why she's doing it. As to, why she's made the choice, I think you can talk to her about that personally. It's not really my story to tell, but I kind of explained how there's the turnover and people look for new opportunities. And then your question about the bike rack, Lucy. So just on the mandate. So the last time we talked, we had some staff that were in a either unresolved or leave of absence status pending decisions on a religious exemption. So the 1-minute version is when New York State issued the mandate for this vaccine for us in August to be effective September 27th, the original language did not allow for religious exemption requests. Okay. It allowed for medical exemption requests, but not religious. So that set off a whole hoopla because civil rights law protects rights to religious exemption at a federal level. So this is a state mandate that did not permit us to consider religious exemptions at all. So 2 weeks later, a number of lawsuits were filed in the courts, basically fighting against that component and looking for, initially, it was a temporary restraining order, which was granted. while the courts reviewed this issue. So for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we were able to consider temporarily religious exemptions. So we did receive six initially. And we had 8 people altogether that had indicated that they planned to submit them. We received 6 and 4 or 5 completed the entire process. Everyone else fell off. We didn't hear a thing from them. So there were things that we were required to ask of them, things that we needed to get back from them in terms of an attestation as to their sincerely held religious belief. So despite numerous phone calls, emails, certified mailings, several of the employees just walked away. There were a few religious exemptions granted during that period, but New York State disallows anyone that is not vaccinated to be on this campus, regardless if they have a religious exemption. So what we were required to do for those people was offer them a reasonable accommodation. However, they can't be on campus. So reasonable accommodation is remote work, and there's no remote work if you're a direct care staff member, and all of these were. So it's been very muddy. Last week, actually on the 29th, so 2 weeks ago, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which is a federal court, nixed all of those temporary restraining orders and restored the vaccine mandate back to its original language and said that we cannot consider religious exemptions, period, end of story. So currently anyone that left us, they still are in the same standing, but we cannot consider any pending religious exemptions. We can choose to rescind the ones that we granted, but really they're 6 of one, half dozen of another, because they can't come to campus either way. So the bottom line is the state is taking a hard line that if you are not vaccinated, you cannot be on the campus with any kind of a resident facing role. So if you can grant a medical exemption where the employee can work from home, you can do so. But we don't really have anybody in that category. Christy, maybe in finance, could work from home full time, but everybody else is interactive. So for our purposes at this point in time, because we don't offer remote work, and that's the only option New York State is allowing for medical exemptions, we're kind of, those people that chose not to get vaccinated are not here. They're in various states of leave of absence. I can't go into those details. They are welcome at any time to get vaccinated. The federal courts put a final compliance deadline on their mandate, which is going at the same time as this, of you have to be fully vaccinated by January either 4th or 6th, which means you have to have had your final dose by December 21st. So anyone not receiving their final dose, whether it be a single dose Johnson & Johnson or a 2 dose of either Moderna or Pfizer, anyone not having had that by the 21st of December will not be employable in our field. So that's where we are in New York State. So that's where we are. Does that answer your question, Joan? Yeah. Yep. They do. And that's a discussion that was had pretty robustly at the committee. That was a committee member decision. And the folks who are in current leave of absence status are eligible for the committee. Oh, I'm sorry. The folks that are currently in a leave of absence status are eligible. The folks that just walked away are not, is what Bridget has just clarified. So of those total group of people, it was about a 50-50 split. People in leave of absence status are still actively employed. The people who walked away. Okay. I think it's half and half. 4 in a leave, 4 in a leave, and 4 walked away. I think it's important for everybody to just kind of realize the dynamic that has happened among the staff. The staff that are vaccinated, especially those that were the holdouts, so the ones that waited until September 27th to get their first dose because they really hated the idea of this vaccine, are still very emotional about it. There are a good number of people here. If you remember when this mandate got issued, I think we were at about 80% vaccinated across campus. So we still had 20% of our people, 8 months into the vaccine being available that were not wanting to get vaccinated. Most of that 20% only got vaccinated because they couldn't lose their job. They did not want to get this vaccine. So there's not a lot of love lost by the staff for the people that walked away. Because a lot of the people that did get vaccinated did so kicking and screaming. So I think it's important for you to understand that there are people that were very staunchly opposed to this that chose to walk away. And there were people that were very staunchly opposed to this that did it anyway, but they're not over the decision yet. They're still very emotionally troubled by their decision.
And sure, the 4 people that are in the leave status will get it for the committee. However, they are not ever going to be able to return to the fund.
Right. And I think that that's clear. So what Bridget was just reiterating again is that they will get their check, but unless they get vaccinated or unless the mandate changes, they cannot come back. Now, as to where those folks went, I don't know. But they couldn't have gone into anywhere healthcare in New York. So, and nowhere working with seniors. So I'm guessing that they either have gone into a different field or are going back to school, depending on what their situation is or whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, out of our 275 employees, we lost 8. And of that, only 5, I think, were full-time. The rest were part-time or per diem. Other organizations have lost 20 to 30% of their staff. So I think that's indicative of the fact that our employees love working here and decided they weighed their choices and decided to get the vaccine because they needed their paycheck, but that also because they love their job. So anybody have anything for me other than that? Okay, well, thank you for sitting for a lengthy meeting, but it was good to see everybody. And we'll see you soon.